Today, at Toronto Police Headquarters, Staff Inspector Mike Earl of Hold Up will be providing an update into an investigation involving the shooting of a TTC collector in 2012. Sir?
Thank you very much for attending this press conference. I want to take our mind back to, actually right back to 2011, June 11th. A series of robberies occurred at 278 Dupont, the Dupont subway. That was the first of 3 robberies. That was a Saturday at approximately 9:20 p.m. And then the following robbery took place on October 2nd, 2011 at 7:55 p.m. on 2011. And then the third robbery, which I really want to speak to you about, happened on February 26, 2012 at 7:10 p.m. at 278 Dupont Street. And on that robbery, the collector, the TTC employee who was working in the collector booth, was shot in the neck and shoulder by the perpetrator of this crime. 5 years as of yesterday have gone by. We're still looking for information on the identity of the suspect in this unusual case. We're seeking the public's assistance and the media's assistance to get this out again, and hopefully that we can get some clues. It's a very unusual case because this individual can only be described as committing these 3 robberies that we can find in the entire GTA. He targeted the same collector's booth 3 times, approximately 4 months apart. And after the shooting, when he received no cash, there hasn't been a robbery similar since. The individual is described as somewhere 30s to 40 years of age, short, stocky, as you can tell by the pictures. Not much to go on other than white, left-handed, holding a revolver that was used in the actual offense. The first 2 robberies, the suspect obtained some cash, and the third robbery, the collector, the victim of the shooting, hesitated. The suspect was walking away and literally turned and fired several shots through the glass, striking the employee several times, hitting him in the neck and the shoulder, causing some serious injuries. Our clues have gone dry. We're looking for any type of assistance from the public to identify this suspect so we can put a rest to this and actually some comfort to the victim and the employees of the TTC. Like I said, this is the TTC has been the only target by this individual, and now 5 years have gone past. I'm hoping that maybe this individual at some point in time has spoken to somebody, told somebody something about this, or maybe somebody had information years ago and was afraid to come forward. Maybe this renewed push of information may cause that person to come forward with information. They can call CrimeStoppers or contact the hold-up squad with any information about this series of robberies. Today with me here is Brad Ross from the TTC, which I'd like him to announce the reward that still stands. And I'll let him speak first, and then I'll take any questions after that. Thank you very much. Brad?
Thank you, Mike. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to, first of all, thank the Toronto Police Service for their continuing work on this important investigation. As Inspector Earl indicated, 5 years ago, one of our employees was shot and almost killed. This very senseless crime over what amounts to a few dollars shook the TTC and caused us to do a number of things to make our employees safer. We've installed a greater bullet resistance type glass to our collector booths. We have reduced the amount of cash that is in the system, so people need to know that we have included included in all collector booths now debit and credit capability, reducing the amount of cash in the system. And we also announced that after this crime that there is a $25,000 reward that remains on the table for anybody who can provide police with information that would lead to the arrest and conviction of the individual responsible for this senseless crime. So once again, I want to thank the Toronto Police Service for their continuing investigation. It seems only yesterday, but it was in fact 5 years ago, and we've done a lot of work at the TTC to protect our employees further from these senseless senseless crimes, and we're hopeful that that somebody memory will be triggered today by this reminder of this terrible crime and the fact that this reward still stands. Thank you.
And as you can see, we have pictures of the suspect displayed on the screen. Also, there's going to be a video on YouTube that goes out with the press release that we've released before. We did do a one-year anniversary of this. CrimeStoppers has already posted this on previous dates also. So this individual, again, is described as male or female white. We've had descriptions of both coming from tips from the public. Heavy set, 30s and up, and obviously left-handed, or maybe prefers the left hand for the weapon hand. All three robberies, the individual was carrying pulled the handgun out of the satchel in the left hand and demanded the money with the right hand. Any questions?
Has the gun been used in anything else?
Pardon me?
Has the gun been used in any other crimes? Have you been able to look at the ballistics?
Not that we're aware of. This is a very unique situation. I've been in the hold-up squad this time around since 2011, and prior to that I was an investigator there for 9 years. I've never seen anything like this before where the same place has been targeted, the same place 3 times, almost 4 months apart, and no other crimes are committed that we can tell by this individual anywhere else in the GTA or even in the province of Ontario. We review all the robberies. Nothing else has come up. And after this shooting, this person has literally disappeared.
And what do you make of that?
I think this individual is probably eccentric and maybe even private, but he's obviously familiar with the area where these robberies took place, very familiar, because constantly went back to the same location. On the last robbery, I reported this before, that a witness that did not come forward told an individual at the scene that this suspect entered a motor vehicle, a silver 4-door car, on McPherson Avenue and drove off at a high rate of speed on Spadina. That witness has never come forward, the person that actually saw this individual get in the car. This was third-hand information. We've asked this individual numerous times through the media to come forward so we can maybe get further clues on this motor vehicle, or maybe they have a partial plate. We've checked video surveillance in the area. We've got nothing further. So our clues have kind of dried up. We're really looking for anything that anybody can have that point us in the right direction.
What's the status on the collector? I don't know, Brad, or if you want to answer this in terms of what's their life like now? Are they okay? What's their current situation?
They're not back at work. They're still off of work on long-term disability, and further medical procedures are still continuing for the individual. So very devastating. You can imagine being shot and hit in the neck and almost dying. So we're providing, as an employer, all the support that the employee needs, and will continue to do that.
And is that because he's just too fragile to come back? It is a he, is it?
Yeah, it is a he, but there are medical issues with respect to the recovery, and that's probably all I'd be prepared to say, Austin.
Brad, can you just talk about the other collectors at the station and just how they reacted? I mean, the inspector talked about how this person was struck multiple times.
Yep.
I know it's been a few years since then, but are people all right now, or were they nervous about that?
Well, it's something that you know, as an organization, as an employer, and as employees, you never forget. One of your colleagues was shot and almost killed over what amounts to, a couple of dollars, and in fact, no money was recovered in this particular, or was taken in this particular case. So it is something, though, that as an employer we took very, very seriously. And as I said earlier, we've made our booths more bullet resistant. We have reduced significantly the amount of cash that we have in the system. And in fact, in about a year from now, there will be no more collector booths. There will be no more cash in the system other than through vending machines. Our collectors, our employees, will no longer handle fare and therefore no longer handle any money. So that will obviously eliminate almost entirely these types of situations.
Are they still occurring, these types of situations where people would get to a booth and ask for the money or ask for tokens?
Sorry, I missed the first part of your question.
Does it still happen, though, that your
Robberies?
collectors- Yeah.
I'll let Inspector Earl get into that, but yes, unfortunately, they do, yeah.
Yes, we've had collector booth robberies since then. And a matter of fact, we've had 2 this year, 3 in 2016 and 5 in 2015. Several of them have been solved. We had a project back in 2015 called Project Castle that went into 16 that where there was robberies along the Bloor subway line, along with the Castle Frank subway. We arrested several individuals for. But there is probably 4 or 5 that are still outstanding over those last 3 years. But there's no connection between those individuals and this individual. They're totally different descriptions, totally different MO. Some of those pictures have gone out to the media on different occasions. But very rarely is there a TTC booth, really, from the amount of them across the city, robbed. And we take it pretty serious at the Toronto Police because these individuals they're trapped in a booth. They're subject to these individuals that want to prey upon them, and so we want to make sure that they are protected. And we work with the TTC very closely to ensure these employees are protected, and that we take it. We heighten security, we heighten patrols when these robberies happen with our divisional policing officers to ensure that they're protected. So we do everything we possibly can, and the best thing to do is to lock this guy up, or lock this individual up, and get him right off the streets.
Is there a reward?
Yes, Brad Ross mentioned the $25,000 reward for the arrest and conviction of this individual.
And you mentioned, one of your hopes is that this person may have told a friend or someone about this. You're sort of.
Well, 5 years have gone by. I mean, possibilities are there. It happens all the time in cases where eventually something gets the better of you. You want to tell somebody something, or some individual may have known that this person committed these crimes back in 2011, 2012, and just were afraid to come forward. Maybe they had a relationship that was too tight, and they didn't want to come forward. Now time has passed. Maybe now's the time to come forward, and they just need a little nudge. Maybe this is the nudge they need. So I'm hoping that the information gets out there, and it does nudge somebody's mind and some memory, and maybe gives them a little courage to pick up the phone and call CrimeStoppers or give us a call.
Mike, can you go through the last robbery, the brazenness of it, what he did, she did?
Well, the individual approached the collector's booth much like you're buying a token, and the same as the previous 2 robberies, pulled out a handgun, pointed it right at the collector, demanded cash. The collector was a little bit hesitant, probably in shock, to get any money. The individual's wearing a medical mask over the face, right, and pretty hooded up, but there's a revolver pointing at him, and while he hesitated, this suspect probably spooked a little bit, started walking away towards the doors, turned, and without provocation, fired several rounds through the glass at the collector. And that's how quickly it happened. There was then witnesses saw the suspect exit the subway station and go south on Spadina towards McPherson. So that's how quickly this transpired. There was no provocation. This is just some type of animal act committed by some coward for no good reason. And unfortunately, we have a hardworking person that is now suffering probably for the rest of his life with injuries and medical issues for what? For nothing. For basically, as Brad Ross said, trying to get a few dollars.
So do I understand this right, that the collector hesitated, he's walking away, so the robbery's over, it's not working out, and then he turns around and shoots him for the heck of it?
That's what it appears.
Inspector, you mentioned that you've never seen anything like this in terms of just everything going cold in your career, but have you ever seen anything where even with this type of reward being offered, it's obviously a public place, there's people around, and still nothing comes of it?
Well, it's not that everything it goes cold. This whole situation is eccentric because it's the same place being robbed 3 times, 4 months apart, and by the same individual wearing almost the same clothing, same type of firearm, and it ends with a shooting, and there's nothing else. Like it's not like it's when there's drug addictions and there's some type of reason for it. These individuals continue to commit crimes because they have a dependency. This individual targeted this location, right? I'm not saying he targeted the victim in this case, because there's 3 different victims. Targeted this location 3 times, 4 months apart, and on weekends, and at night, and then all of a sudden disappears after firing shots through the glass. So did the person have some type of, flashback and thinking, well, maybe they screwed up and having some inner self problems? I don't know. We'd love to ask this individual when we arrest them. But that's the only way to put an end to this, right? Because it is very eccentric, it's very unusual that we see some kind of pattern like this and then just disappear.
How much cash did this person get away with?
In the first 2 robberies, not very much. Like Mr. Ross said, they're not getting a lot of cash in a collector's booth, right? Most people are using cards and passes and they're buying the odd ticket. They're not getting a lot of money. But a lot of the retail business store robberies, these individuals aren't getting a lot of cash. And the violence is a lot higher than most other robberies because, it's just the way they are. They're carrying firearms, real guns. What is the purpose of having a real gun there? I mean, the threat is still the same. I mean, if you're on the other side of the glass, if it's a real gun, a fake gun, or it's empty, you're not going to know. So what is the purpose? So this individual, again, brought a loaded firearm to a robbery to try and get a few dollars.
But you can use your card in 2012 in TTC booth, could you?
No, but they had Metro passes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of passes going on. There's not, it's still, there is money being carried there, but not to the extent where everybody thinks it is. I mean,
Now, but in 2012, you would pay your TTC pass $120 some odd with cash.
you could, but a lot of people going through the subway are still using their passes on a daily basis, right? But they're not getting a lot of money at the end of the day. They're nothing is worth this, but, so that's why it's very eccentric that the whole thing here is that this individual does this with a loaded firearm and then actually chooses to use it.
The $25,000 reward, is that being put forward by the TTC or the victim's family?
TTC.
Oh.
And Rod, I have a question about protecting TTC drivers. I know there have been some recent assaults that have targeted them. Have there been new security measures put in place to try to better protect drivers?
So yes, and let me just to your point, this robbery was one of the big impetus for us to bring in debit and credit to remove the cash that is in the system, to further remove the cash that is in the system. And to your question, Cindy, yes, the TTC sees on average about one operator assaulted every day. They're spit on, they're punched, they're slapped, they're kicked, they're threatened with death over what amounts to $3 or a transfer dispute or something. And so there's a number of things that we have done, including CCTV that are on all of our vehicles. We have barriers that are on our buses. And we're also now sending our special constables onto surface routes where at times of day and on routes where we see an increase in the number of assaults and threats against our operators, fare evasion and the like. And so there's a number of things that we have done and continue to do to protect our employees. In addition to getting the message out to the public that that courts take this very seriously. In fact, the Criminal Code of Canada allows for, in sentencing, allows for taking into consideration that if this crime was against a transit operator in this country, then the courts have leeway in terms of a harsher sentence and penalty against those convicted of these crimes.
And how many more special constables do you now have on buses?
So we have a total of 41 special constables today. We had approval in this year's budget for 8 more. We don't talk about deployment and numbers and where, because for obvious reasons, but it's a program called Bus Stop, and so people will see not just fare inspectors who are on our streetcar routes and in subway stations checking fares for proof of payment, but also special constables who have greater authority as special constables who will be riding buses and streetcars in addition to their presence today in the subway.
This is uniform special constables, right?
Yes, it is.
Were there a lot of clues in the beginning of this in 2012, and when did it the trail start to go cold?
No, we had a lot of tips. There's a lot of CrimeStopper tips. There was a lot of tips from the media, but the tips that we did get, we exhausted. And a lot of it was because they're so covered up is some are guesses more than tips. But we still looked at everything that came in. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this up, so if anybody has any questions afterwards, we will be sticking around. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you.